Welcome to Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Trunkhead with Trunkhead Gaming. Today is the second in the series, the in-depth series. We're doing Dark Elves today. Again, this is a series where I kind of look at these teams and give starting rosters and build paths. These are starting points for you. I assume that you understand the game at this point. I'm not going to go over the strengths and weaknesses of each team. I'm going to kind of go a little more in depth, actually, into the squad. So the overall concept for Dark Elves are one of the strongest teams in the game. They're extraordinarily adaptable. And when I say that they're adaptable, they can do things. They can bash. They can do agility. They're semi-fast. They can pretty much do whatever your opponent can't do. They can do. So they're very flexible. Lets you kind of change your playstyle to what works. They have the Elf BS. They can do amazing things if once they start getting agility ups, like every elf does, and just even their AG4, they can do things that will just make your head spin. Sometimes you'll be playing Dark Elves and you'll pull something off and you'll be like, I literally can't believe that just happened. They're very agile. They're AG4s. They're like every other elf team, but they're not very fast. I mean, they're six. Their blitzers are move seven, runners are move seven, and witch elves are move seven. But that's about it. That's not terribly fast. I mean, seven's the same speed as a ghoul, for instance. So every other elf team is faster than you. High elves are faster than you. Wood elves are way faster than you. Rats are faster than you. Humans are faster than you. But you're agile. You're agile like an elf. You're all AV8, so you can, well, mostly AV8, I should say. So you can take a punch better than most elf teams. You do have more armor than most squads, and you start with more block than most squads, so that's good. But that doesn't mean you can tank. You're not AV9. You're not dwarfs. You're not chaos. You're not, anything with AV9, lizards. So you can take the punches, but you're not going to last long in a fight. So don't try and tank people. I like this. I like to call it dark elves. They float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. They like to kind of float around and back, and then they see where they want to hit, and then they boom, they hit it hard and they hit it fast. They are not good fowlers. Your lineman, your cheapest piece is 70,000. You can build a fouling lineman. We'll get into that later. I had one once. I actually had a dirty player sneaky get lineman. That's $110,000. That's an expensive fouling piece for a guy who doesn't spend that much time on the pitch. And they don't you don't carry much of a bench with Dark Elves, so fouling is not really your game. If you want to foul heavy, I do not suggest you play Dark Elves. If you want to play an Elf team and foul heavy, Wood Elves are actually pretty good at it. Kings of defense. There is nobody better in the game at defense than Dark Elves because they're strong enough to take the punch here, and they have agility and decent speed. It's really defense is their bread and butter, man. That's what makes the team tick. So if you want to learn defense or you want to be great at defense, this is the way to go. They're easy to rebuild. They're pieces. If you lose, like if you're a high level TV and you lose an awesome blitzer or an awesome witch, it doesn't take long to get them back. It's easy to score touchdowns. Even a lineman, it's easy to score touchdowns because they're AG4. So you can throw passes, you can catch ball, whatever. It's easy to build a team. Embrace the bloat. These guys, they get high in TV. When we talked about undead, we said, hey, you kind of want to live in the 1500 range, no more than 1800. With Dark Elves, you will blow by that. You regularly see Dark Elf teams playing over 2000, 2100 up with those high KS teams because everything's expensive and you start getting dodge everywhere. Your team starts to blow fast. Do not worry about your high TV. You want to go through when you get to the high TV. You want to go through and make sure you build guys correctly. And if you didn't build somebody correctly, you can go ahead and fire him if you want. But don't worry about TV. You'll see a lot of new players. I'll ask them like, "Hey, my team's getting kind of bloaty," and I look at the team. I'm like, "Your team is not bloaty. They're skilled." Dark Elves play. They want to play above 2,000 ideally. That's when they really start to come into their own. On offense, your best offensive strategy for Dark Elves. You want to stay out of the scrum. This is a theme with Dark Elves. You don't want to be in the scrum. You don't want to be toe to toe, basing and bashing, and you'll feel gutsy about it because you'll have a ton of guys with blodge eventually, and you'll be like, I can just sit there. I got blodge and blodge step, and I can sit there and take punches. You're gonna get powed and you're gonna get hurt. Stay out of the scrum. Keep moving when you're on offense. You want to move left to right. You want to move left to right a lot. You want to get the other team moving. Usually the other team is slower than you. And again, you're gonna play it to the strengths. If you're basher, like playing what else, you can go ahead and do some more basing and try and get up next to them. But if you're playing humans or orcs or anything like that, you want to move left and right. You want to see if you can get their agility to slow them down or their speed to outrun them. So move left and right, look for an opening, and then get in there. The best thing about Dark Elves on offense is anybody can pass, anybody can catch, anybody can score. So you're like, oh my god, like if you're playing another race and you have a zombie down pitch, that guy's not legitimately a scoring threat. He's down there, but he's not doing you any good. With Dark Elves, your every single piece is a scoring threat. It's a passing threat. Like that guy can pass the ball, he can throw the ball, he can catch the ball, he can do whatever he needs. He can make dodges. Every single piece is a threat, which is good and bad. It's good because everybody's a threat, and it's really hard to defend. But it's bad because those pieces are expensive. On defense, Dark Elves, you need to learn the elf screen. You can just Google elf screen. If you've ever seen anybody play elves of any matter, they've all done an elf screen. Um, Two deep, and then about four spaces in between. Well, excuse me. You want to have two spaces in between so the people can't dodge through you. So two back, just call it 2x2 screen. It's an elf screen. You absolutely need to learn that as dark elves because you want to stall the other team. You can literally what they do is they come up and they attack your screen and then you just back off one square and you do that all the way down the field and it'll take them their entire offensive drive to get down to the field and then you wait for an opening and then you hit it. Or what often happens with Dark Elves, and you can get some advanced strategies, is they'll end up potatoing their ball carrier. Potatoing means they leave their ball carrier open, like they expose their ball carrier to hits because they're trying to get in the score. So if you're doing an effective elf screen, eventually your opponent's gonna be like, I need to score a touchdown if I'm going to score in this drive, and they will expose their ball carrier and make a break for the end zone. If you can correctly predict where they're at, then you can usually go get that ball carrier and get that ball out and then score yourself. Cage dives. AG4 with dodge on a cage dive is 55%. That means it will succeed more often than it fails. Uh, Once you start getting cage divers, or if you get lucky enough to get an AG5 piece or you get leapers, Dark Elves can attack a cage relentlessly. Every single turn, you can make a cage dive or attack a turn. It doesn't always work. 55% of the time, it's going to fail 45% of the time. So you can just attack that cage, and then the next turn, attack it again. And the next turn, attack it again. Uh, it depends on where your team is at and what you're comfortable with. If you're attacking cages, then by inherently you have to be in contact because you have to cancel assists. Um, so if you're not surviving these cage dives, it's best to back off and go to the elf screen. But if you do a cage dive, and you didn't take any damage, and you want to do another one, go for it again. People get nervous when you start cage diving, and they will start to misshape their cage, and they'll make it even easier for you. So you can be aggressive very early, or you can wait till the end and see if they expose their ball carrier and potato. Stay out of the scrum, just like on offense. You don't you're better off backing up and making them blitz. With Dark Elves, much like humans or any other AV8 team, you don't want to end your turn in contact. You want to give as few hits as possible to the opposing team. Making sure you back off as much as possible. Don't give those free hits on offense or defense. Don't get trapped. You can often see if you do the safe 5, it's easy for the other team to trap you. You have to be able to get out. Um, they're going to try and make your dodges as difficult as possible. Score fast. When you get turned the ball over as Dark Elves, it is okay to score fast. I mean, you as a coach at this point, you should have understand the flow of the game and when to stall and when not to stall when you turn the ball over. But if you turn the ball over in the first 2 or 3 turns, go ahead and score, man. Go ahead and score and then go back on defense because clearly you're good at it and you can do it again. Um, it's score as often as possible, especially early when you're Dark Elves, so you can get that development. Let's get into starting lineups. There's basically 2 starting lineups for Dark Elves that I'm going to suggest. There's clearly you can do whatever you want, but my suggestion is you do 1 or 2, and we'll go over both of them because they're different. Uh, this lineup that I did here, this is a 3 blitzer, 1 witch elf, and then 7 lineman build. The disadvantages to doing this one is that a witch elf is armor 7, and you don't have an apothecary, so she is easy to get removed, the easiest to get removed. So you have to be careful about that. The benefits to it is, and then you also your short 1 block. But the benefit is you get a dodge, and nobody starts with tackle. So when you're low TV, very few people have tackle. You can actually base tackle like big guys. Say you want to base an ogre. Ogres don't have block; they can only pow you to knock you down. So dodge is very powerful at low TV. And of course you get the frenzies, you get that surfing threat, which is pretty awesome. If you go this build, Your first 2 touchdowns need to be on this witch elf so you can get this witch elf block or wrestle, and we'll go into builds later. But so be aware this you need to protect this piece because it's AV7 and it's a little more expensive. The other build you can do is you can just replace this witch elf. The other build that I suggest, replace this witch elf with your 4th blitzer, and that way the benefit to that is you start with 0 AV7, so your team's more durable and you have an extra block, which is valuable because you only have 2 rerolls. So I've done both. Both work. Whatever you feel like this, the 4 blitzer build is a little bit safer than the witch elf because of the AV7. You can also start with a runner, um, if you like. We'll go into runners later. Optional. I don't start with runners. The reason I don't start with runners is because you need to get touchdowns on these guys as quickly as possible. So when you start with a runner, you end up to either hogs all of your SPP and becomes really huge and out of whack with the rest of the team because he'll have like 3 or 4 skills and nobody else will have one, or he won't score at all because you're using him to distribute to these guys. So I do not start with a runner. A runner is AV7. I want as little AV7 on the pitch when I start my team as possible, especially when I don't have an apothecary and I don't have all my rerolls. There's really not a good way to start Dark Elves with 3 rerolls. Um, you just kind of got to deal with it for a couple games. It's difficult. You want to buy that reroll as fast as possible. So when you're building your team, your first priority is get the 3rd reroll. This is your purchasing priority. Get the 3rd reroll, get the apothecary, and then you want to get your next witch, or excuse me, your next blitzer, and then your next witch. Do not get your next witch until this one at least has block. But I would get the 4th blitzer before I got the 2nd witch. So that's what I would start with. I would not start with a runner. Either do 3 blitzers and a witch, or 4 blitzers, everybody else lineman, 2 rerolls. It's pretty easy. So we're gonna get into the blitzer. Blitzers are they're the backbone, the backbone of the team. Extraordinarily versatile, extraordinarily versatile. So I'm gonna give you basically some basic. Hey, these are normal skills, but you need to remember, and not with just blitzers, but with all dark elf positions, even linemen. You kind of you take what Nuffle gives you. When you get a skill up or a double, it can drastically change the direction of your player, and it's really hard for Dark Elves to go down a rigid path like it is, for instance, the Undead Ghoul we just talked about last week. The Sacker is, I only need Wrestle and Tackle, I don't need anything else. It's a rigid build. All Dark Elf spots are extraordinarily versatile. Like this, you could have a plan for a guy, and then he'll get his strength up and everything changes. Or he'll get an agility up, and all of a sudden he's leaping cages, or he's got sure hands and he's scooping up loose balls. So keep in mind when you're building these guys, you kind of have an idea where they're going, but as soon as you get some kind of double or some kind of skill up, you need to change your plan, and then it's pretty easy to do. So if we're talking just normals, my first skill for almost 99% of all elves of any race is dodge. And the reason you get dodge first, especially with block, but the reason you get dodge first is because elves need to be able to reposition and they need to be able to dodge reliably. Elves roll a lot of dice. They roll more dice than the majority of teams because they're dodging all the time. So 1 in 6 happens, of course, 17% of the time. It happens almost all the time when you don't want it. So you want to get that built-in reroll. So every position, get dodge first. The next skill, if you're just getting normal, sidestep, so you can position yourself any way you want. Make sure you get a tackle piece in there. So if you get dodge, tackle, as you start moving up, as these guys start building up, you need to make sure you have tackle, at least 1 or 2 tackle pieces for your opponent, and it's good on blitzers. There's also the diving tackle combination. Diving tackle is really strong, super strong, and it's one of the things where elves shine because they can get it on any piece. You'll see a lot of AG3 teams who don't have agility access. Their second skill, if they get 2 doubles, it's almost always dodge and then diving tackle because diving tackle is an extremely strong skill, especially when it's paired with sidestep. When you have blodge step and then diving tackle, the strategy to get around diving tackle is to just blitz that player off. Let me block this player off of the guy I want to move. Well, if you have sidestep, you can't do that. So blodge step with diving tackle is extraordinarily strong, and then tackle, that guy doesn't get his automatic reroll to get away from you. Really strong combination. That's just if you're getting only normal skills. I pretty much build them all the same way. You can put a strip baller in there, but you have other people who are going to try and strip the ball, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. That's the pure normals. Doubles on blitzers, I always get Mighty Blow first. Always. Uh, you'll hear some argument for guard, and I would get guard later on, depending on how much I have in the rest of my team. But for blitzers who are move 7, I would get Mighty Blow. You have 0 access to Mighty Blow, and you need somebody to hit when your blitzers move 7 and they already have block. These are my hitters, so I get that Mighty Blow. If I get a second double after my Mighty Blow, I get the piling on. I just take it. It's awesome. It is awesome. Plus, the animation for Dark Elf piling on is cool. It's like the Matrix, man. He's like Neo jumping up in the air. So Mighty Blow piling on, because that gives you a removal threat. Mighty Blow piling on, then you go tackle, like a normal human blitzer from that point. And then you can get guard. Guard is always good anywhere, any situation, all the time. It's especially strong on elves because they don't have it normally. But elves are built around not having guard, so it's you want to. We'll talk about it later. On a lineman, you take guard, but for a blitzer, you guard would be my third choice for doubles. Stat ups, you would take all stat ups, of course, strength and agility. AG5 is disgusting. It does some crazy things. It'll change your life. And of course, strength is awesome. The move, you would take. So the one thing about Dark Elves, they're not good at one turning because they're move 7. Their highest move piece is move 7. So you have to do some fancy frenzy pushes with your witches to really get your one turns in. So if you can get a move 8 and it fits into where your blitzer is at that time, I would absolutely take it. If you get double 5s and you have no Mighty Blow anywhere, I would take the Mighty Blow first. Uh, the move 8 is nice, but the Mighty Blow is nicer. So it kind of depends on where you're at with what your team, what they have already. But having a move 8 piece is awesome, especially one that's got easy access to sidestep. It makes one turning a lot easier if you have sidestep and move 8. So kind of judge where you're at. Double 5s, if I had no Mighty Blow on my team, I would skip the doubles and I would just skip the move and take the doubles. But if I already had some Mighty Blow, like 1 or 2 Mighty Blow pieces, I would take the move. Like I said, you kind of gotta get a feel for your team. So that is the blitzer, man. You can get once you if the stat ups make a huge difference, and you'll roll stat ups eventually, and you'll roll doubles eventually. Like if you got strength 4, you can make him a hitter. He doesn't have mighty blow still. He'd be an awesome ball carrier, man. You got blodge mighty 4, blodge strength 4. You're really really hard to bring down. Give that guy sure hands if you need. It behooves you to have a sure hands ball carrier for picking up the ball because ones happen all the time, and then they can happen at crucial moments. Plus, when you're AG4, when you have sure hands, you can pick it up in one tackle zone on a 3+. That's like a human or an orc or whatever, and then you can pick it up twice. So sure hands is good. You get strength 4, man, get sure hands. It's awesome. Or get frenzy. You already have 2 frenzy pieces, so I wouldn't suggest it, but it's something you can do. There's all kinds of options. You get agility 5, and your world expands. You get leap, you get wrestle, you get tackle, you get sure hands, you can throw, you can do all kinds of sick stuff with AG5. So stat ups make a huge difference. The witch elf. If you play dark elves, you need witch elves. You absolutely need witch elves. They're the flavor of the team. They're basically the reason why you choose dark elves over other races. They're a very unique piece. Um, they start with this jump up skill, which you don't actually end up using a lot, ideally, because you don't want to be on the ground too much with these pieces. But they're one of only 2 pieces I know that start with jump up, and they start with dodge. Dodge is amazing, and then the frenzy. So these guys do a lot of work, but they're also only AV7, so you have to be careful. You have to protect them a little bit. You don't want these guys getting hit. Your opponent will make a high priority out of hitting your witches, so make sure you're protecting them. I would not get my second witch until my first witch has either wrestle or block, whichever one, and is protected because they're kind of expensive, and you need to make sure you're protecting them. So build them kind of slow, but get them as soon as you get a new witch. Make sure you get that first skill immediately. It's absolutely crucial and vital that you protect these pieces. So get them the early touchdowns. There's 2 essential builds. Again, they're much like blitzers, where once they start getting stat ups, you kind of go the direction the stat up takes you. But there's 2 essential builds for witch elves. There's utility pieces, and then there's sackers. Now, utility piece, or I mean, you can call them a hitter too. You get block, and then you would get sidestep, and then diving tackle tackle. The reason you get block first for all frenzy pieces is because if you frenzy trap yourself into a one die, you're going to want that block. That's going to happen. It happens all the time. Sidestep for when you're pushing somebody against a cage, because when you're a utility piece, you're trying to surf people. You're always looking for surf opportunities when you're a Witch Elf, with Dark Elf player. Always look for surf opportunities. They're all over the place, man. People will forget about it. They'll be 3 away, but in contact, and you can push that piece. So you always want to be looking for surfs. Surfs are easier to do if you have sidesteps. So when you're out of movement, you're okay. You're comfortable against the sideline. So block and then sidestep and then diving tackle tackle, just like a regular blitzer. Everything's the same, except for you're going to do more surfing. If you get doubles, a Mighty Blow Witch is disgusting. They are super strong because they're frenzy. They get extra hits and they will level fast. If you get a second double, piling on is amazing, just like it always is, and it kind of goes well with jump up. Same with diving tackle. So if you get a Mighty Blow piling on Witch, and I have faced one, I have faced a couple of them actually. They are nasty. They remove pieces left and right. You have to be careful if you pile on to make sure you protect the piece when it's on the ground because everybody. I one time dropped a fireball on a bunch of elves because he was protecting his piled on witch who had piled on somebody and killed somebody. So I dropped a fireball just so I could go foul her. You need to protect that piece if she's on the ground. Your other option, if you don't want to do piling on, don't want her on the ground, which I don't blame you, Juggernaut makes an awesome surfing piece. Awesome. You can stand firm, doesn't do anything. It breaks through wrestle. Um, it's a really nice, really strong option. If you wrestle, if you come up right now, the way Juggernaut works in the game is if you attack a wrestle piece and then you don't use Juggernaut, you knock that piece down, just like you would normally if you have block and they didn't have block. Strength up, yes, you would take. Agility, yes, you would take. Movement, yes, you would take. Double fives, I would probably take the Mighty Blow over the move, but again, like a blitzer, it depends on where the rest of my team is at and if I need a move 8 piece. I've had a move 9 witch, man. They're nasty, and they get out. And the extra move is really nice in the frenzy, but Mighty Blow first. 6 and 4, take the move, absolutely. Your other basic option for Witch Elf is a Sacker. For Sackers, instead of block, you want to get Wrestle, and this is kind of actually important because these are the only pieces. Like your blitzers all start with block, so these guys are awesome at becoming Sackers because you can just get the Wrestle, and it doesn't conflict with the block. Wrestle tackle, like any other Sacker would get. Strip ball is your third skill. Get the tackle before you get strip ball with Witch Elves. But strip ball, they'll level fast. You can get these guys touchdowns so quick, so it doesn't really matter. Wrestle, tackle, strip ball. If you get to a 4 skill, leap. Just leap into cages on a 2+ or a 3+, excuse me, and then sidestep. That's the way you would go. 4 doubles, you can get Mighty Blow. You can also get Guard. I wouldn't be mad at either one of those. You're going to hit a lot with a Sacker, so Mighty Blow is going to work. Guard is also a really nice play because it's a Sacker. It's kind of gives it a dual role by being, hey, not only am I a Sacker, I'm in the middle of the scrum, but now I have Guard. But remember, you have Wrestle, so you might end up on the ground and negating that Guard. Same stats, take all. I would take the move over the double fives for a sacker because doubles are not actually that important for a sacking piece. I mean, it's nice to have the extra mighty blow, but you can do what you need to do with the sacking piece without doubles, which will save you on some TV. But you start at 110, so the piece is going to be bloating no matter what. So I wouldn't worry too much about saving PD. Don't look at the doubles and be like, I don't want to take this double because my team's getting high from team value already. Uh, but the good reason to look at it is I don't need doubles for this piece, for stacking piece. So if I had a double five, I'd take the move on this particular piece as opposed to the double. We're gonna move on to the lineman, man. The lineman is extraordinarily important. You start with 7 of them with most builds, which is a lot for any team. Like, man, I don't have very many positionals. But linemen are way more valuable. They're linemen in name only. They are probably the most valuable linemen in the league, in the whole game. Any elf lineman, high elf linemen are exactly the same. High elf linemen have this exact same stat line. They're exactly the same. Wood elves are a little bit faster. They're move 7, armor 7. uh, but essentially they're all the same. They'd be the main players, and like if you had one of these players on a human team, this would be your go-to player because of the agility 4. this is uh, this is amazing. These are even on an undead team, you'd be like, man, I got an agility 4 squad. This is a really strong piece. Even though it starts with no skill, it's a really strong piece, which is why it costs 70,000 to start. So they're expensive. You can't throw them away, man. You got to be careful. You can't just be like, I'll just base my lineman because it's a lineman and I don't care about that. You have to think about it. What am I getting out of basing? If I lose this piece, is that a big deal? If you want to just base your lineman and forget about it, you need to go play orcs or you need to go play undead. You need to play something with a throwaway, like a Nurgle team with rotters. You cannot throw away Dark Elf linemen. They're expensive and they're hard to replace. In that vein, if you have to play a game with loner Dark Elf linemen, that is not that big of a deal. I went through an entire Goblin season when I had 3 to 4 loner linemen every single game. You'll eventually get your pieces back, trust me. They eventually come back. But loner linemen are still AG4. So they're still really nice pieces, and they're still armor 8, and they're still strength 3. These guys are extraordinarily versatile. They fill any role. So for just, like, again, blitzers, linemen, any kind of elf, you kind of dictate it by if you roll doubles or not, and then what are you going to do with these pieces. We'll go over 2 builds that say, hey, I'm not getting doubles, so this is my basic plan for the lineman. This is my basic map. I'm gonna do this if I get no doubles, but as soon as I get doubles, that plan goes out the window. So the first thing you can do, you can make them a slow blitzer. Is what I call them, because they're essentially exactly the same as a blitzer. They just have one less movement, and they don't start with the skill. So my first skill will be dodge still, because you want to be able to reposition it, and then block, and then all of a sudden he's a blitzer, just with one less movement, block and dodge. And then sidestep, tackle, dive, and tackle. So I built him just exactly like I would a blitzer. That's just going to take you one extra skill. With doubles for these guys, I get guard instead of mighty blow. Um, that's just preference because of the movement. I like to use my linemen as guard pieces and my blitzers as hitters. You can totally go mighty blow, but guard on dark elves is so strong, super strong. So get guard. If you get guard on a dark elf lineman, you need to make it a priority to get that guy blodge as soon as possible, because people see guard on dark elves and they immediately go kill this piece, and since he doesn't have dodge or block, he's easy to kill. Stat ups, you take all of them just like a normal blitzer. I build 80% of my linemen like that, just dodge and then block and then go from there. Um, if you have dodge, if you're getting free dodge on a bunch of linemen, you're doing okay, man, because it's hard for people to hit those guys. And linemen, when you get an MVP in linemen, it's not that big of a deal. I got an MVP in linemen. The very next game, I go out, I throw one pass. It's a 2+ pass into a 2+ catch, and that the guy's leveled. So it's not bad to get MVPs on these guys and get them dodge, and you can build them super quick. The other way to go with these guys, 80% of my linemen will go dodge first. I'll build 1 to 2 guys, and in a rare case, 3 guys, but usually just 1 to 2. I'll go wrestle first because I'm gonna make him a ghetto sacker. The wrestle tackle is very strong. But what I do is I go wrestle leap and then tackle third. The leap gives you a dynamic, which is pretty awesome. Usually people only want to put leap on AG5 pieces because you leap on a 2+ instead of a 3+, or faster pieces because of the 6. I find that when I use a lineman who has wrestle and then leap, I use it all the time, and the movement doesn't make any difference because linemen are close to the cage anyway, and you're going to leap into the cage for the tackle. 1 or 2 wrestle leap guys will change your life, man. You can attack that cage every single turn with one of those guys, and they have other utilities. Like I got a blitz, and all my blitzers and my witch elf went around the line. Now what do I do with these guys? Well, this guy, he's too slow to go around the line, right? Well, he just leap over it. And I used to do it all the time. Still do it all the time. So wrestle, leap, and then tackle, and then strip ball if you ever got to a 4 skill. They don't usually last that long, so don't get too married to the guy. But if you get doubles, you can get guard, or you could just skip it. I would probably just skip it, but like I said, it's hard to turn down guard. Stat ups, you would take all stat ups, especially if he gets AG5. Then leaping with AG5 is awesome. It's on a 2+. It's amazing. I would on fives. I would take the move over the doubles because I don't think doubles are super important on a stacking piece like that. And again, these pieces don't last that long, so it's not a reason to get too invested into them. That is the Dark Elf lineman. Of course, just like the Blitzers and the Witches, once you get doubles, your whole plan changes. And what we're gonna do at the end of this video, we're gonna go over my I have a CCL Dark Elf team, and we'll kind of walk through it, and you can see where I had to change my plan for a number of pieces. The runner. The runner is kind of a controversial piece. Some people don't like him. Some people do like them. Some people start their Dark Elves with line. Lots of people, especially when you're new Dark Elf players, will start their team with a runner. I prefer not to because of the armor 7, but the move 7 is really nice. To have a little bit extra speed for your team, which isn't super fast, it's nice to have. If you get a runner, yeah, again, it's just like the witch elf, you got to protect it. If you have 2 witches and a runner on the field, you now have 3 AV7s on the field. If you have 2 runners, now you have 4, which makes you less durable, which is one of the benefits to dark elves is that they're more durable than most AG teams. So this is the runner. They start with the dump off skill, which is a unique skill. I happen to love dump off. If you've watched any of my human videos, you know I use dump off on all my human throwers. I think it's a great skill. It's really nice on elves because all elves are AG4, so you can dump it off to any elf, any lineman, and they can catch the ball. It's really, really nice. You have 2 options with your runner. Excuse me. You can do a Ghetto Blitzer, which is the exact same build as a lineman, just with 1 extra move and 1 less armor. So you would get dodge, block, tackle, break tackle, or dodge, block, tackle, diving tackle, etc., just like you would a regular blitzer or a regular lineman, and just have the added utility of the dump off. In that particular instance, you're not using the dump off, but you're getting the extra move 7 guy, which can be valuable, be very valuable. And then your other option with one of these guys is to maximize the dump off skill. If I was building a runner, and I don't use runners, and I'll tell you why I don't use runners in a minute, I like to get them when I have a runner. I maximize the dump off skill. Otherwise, I'm just wasting the skill. So my very first one is pass, because if you guys in your face, you can get nerves of steel first. Also, I wouldn't quibble with you about it, but if you get pass first, it's got utility of I can pass like a normal passer. And if you have a guy in your face, I'm still a 3+ pass twice, which is 89% chance. So I like pass first. I then get dodge. I think dodge is very strong on this team because again he's going to have to move around a lot, and then nerves of steel third, and then accurate, and start going down the passing tree. And then stat ups, you take all stat ups. So the reason I do not start with a runner is because you need your touchdowns on your witches and your blitzers desperately. And as you build your team, you'll start to need touchdowns on your linemen desperately. And I've had teams where I had a runner who was stuck on one skill for 20, 30 games because I was always giving the ball to somebody else to go score a touchdown because I needed that guy to score a touchdown, and my runner never developed. Conversely, when I very first started Dark Elves, I had runners that had 6 or 7 skills because they scored all the touchdowns, and then the rest of the team didn't develop. So it's a nice piece. It adds an element that a lot of Dark Elf coaches, a lot of very good Dark Elf coaches love the extra utility. I think that you need to score touchdowns on your other pieces, and since they're AG4, they can totally do that. Um, I'm not a fan of the runner, but it is an option, so I just wanted to make sure I cover it. And then the last piece that we are going to talk about when you're building your Dark Elf team is the Assassin. They always have cool names. Bladebringer. I have a guy named Wrath Touched right now. In general, you do not need an assassin. They're 90,000 gold pieces. You do not start with one. Do not start your team with an assassin. Um, move 6 and AV7, so they're both slow and easy to hit, and they have low armor. They start with a shadowing skill. Shadowing is actually not a good skill for a move 6 piece because it's shadowing triggers off how much of movement you have. So this is a weird combination. Stab is a straight armor roll. So you're always an underdog with your stab. It's not that great of a skill. Also, if you want to run up and stab somebody, that counts as your blitz action. So you have to be like, Usually you don't, and also you don't get SPP from stabbing. So I've often had when I use an assassin, you just don't level him ever, because I mean you can give him touchdowns if you want. He's agility 4. He's an elf, um, but he does the job he needs to do without any skills because he starts with what he needs. He goes out there. You can go out there and you can stab a skink, a blodge step skink. You know, a guy. If you don't have any tackle, these guys are great against AG against armor 7. You got you got skinks, witch elves, wood elves. Anybody with armor 7 who's got blodge steps. That's usually what happens when you got armor 7. They got blodge and they got dodge. You can go up and you can stab them. That's great. In general, this you don't break armor enough with this thing, and then once you start getting to even AV8, it becomes a real liability. It doesn't do a whole lot. AV9, you're very rarely going to get a stab through on AV9. And if you're stabbing somebody, that means you're basing and you're not in a good position. However, if you are going to build an assassin, there are there's a couple ways to build it. You could just get him dodge and be okay. You could just get him dodge and block, make him a blodger and just be okay. You can get him jump up. Jump up is actually great because when he's on the ground, which for whatever reason people will focus intently on attacking your assassin, so he's on the ground a lot. If you get jump up, then he can do that stab function with the guy who just hit him without using a blitz action. So jump up actually works really nice there. If you get a double with your assassin, get multi-block because then you can do 2 stabs in the same turn. It's a little clunky. You hit multi-block, like you select on the player and you pop that little window up above his head and you hit multi-block. And then it'll say pick your first guy and you'll have to go click him again and click stab and pick that guy. And then you have to click multi-block, stab again. Like it's a really weird interface. It'll take you a couple times to get used to it, but multi-block does let you stab 2 people in 1 turn. And at that point, you kind of want to protect your assassin because he's pretty cool at that point. Go ahead and get him his blodge. In general, you don't want to invest too much TV into these guys. You don't want to skill them too much because they start out at 90. They don't offer you a whole lot, so they're not worth investing skills and touchdowns in. An alternate build that I often do when I play assassins, which isn't very often, is I get them 2 touchdowns and I get them dirty player, which sounds really odd. It sounds it sounds really odd. My thinking here, and you can either agree or disagree. It's your team. Is that anytime you start placing AV8 and AV9 teams, stab is very worthless. But if I have the guy on the pitch anyway, he's already on my team. I want to make use of him. Fouling is is one spot where Dark Elves don't do very well because they don't have any pieces there. Just like, hey, this piece is not doing me any good. All the pieces are valuable and they need them on the pitch. Except for an assassin against a high armor team. You don't need an assassin against a high armor team because this stab does absolutely nothing against high armor teams. It's like you have like a 10%, like a 17% chance to get a stab in. So if I give him dirty player, now he has a role. I can get down that AV9 piece, and I can gang foul him. I can step on him with my assassin. I used to do that all the time, and it works fantastically. All right, let's go into one example. That's every position, and that's how I build the teams. Before I wrap it up, I want to go over real quick. This is actually my old REL team, which is not in his squad anymore. But it's not a great example because there's not a lot of stat ups here. You can see the Bud Light. He got this. He got the move, and then he got the strength 4. I got frenzy. I don't really like this frenzy build. I would not do that since I already have 2 frenzy pieces. But that's the direction he went. You can see I have this runner. This guy he's only got 13 SPP, and he played 14 games. So, because I was always passing off to these other guys. But I'm going to go over my CCL team because they're a good example of team following your what Nuffle gives you and changing the build of your players. So you can see 2150, extremely high, not uncommon for Dark Elves. Let's start with the witches. So this is just the normal witch build. You can see that I went block and then sidestep, diving, tackle, tackle. No doubles on this piece. And witches like I said, they don't really need doubles. I mean, it'd be great to have Mighty Blow, of course, but. And then here's a sacker. I got Daisy, and some people build both of their witch elves as sacker because they have all these guys to block. You can do. It's up to you. It works fine. But wrestle, tackle, strip ball. and then probably sidestep next, or likely leap next is what I'm gonna get for her for Daisy. Flash. Flash got two move move ups. So I got the first one, and then I got dodge because I was like, hey, now I have a one turn threat. Now I got another one. Now I really have a one turn threat because I'm the fastest gutter runner with AG4. I got the sidestep, and I just picked up catch because that way I can throw the ball to this person and go. So, like I said, I'm just kind of following. I would never get. We didn't talk about catch at all. We talked about building a team, but now I got catch because Flash is essentially a one turn, or he can score from anywhere. I have two AG5 pieces on this. I can throw him the ball, and he'll catch it and he'll go score. So the catch skill is awesome here. Justice, he was started. You see, all my guys started dodge except for Flash, who got the skill up, and then he got mighty blow. So his very next skill is tackle, and I hit with him as often as I possibly can. Uh, if I was my next skill up for this guy, probably just sidestep. Um, of course, if I get doubles, I'm gonna get piling on. So that is Justice. He's the hitter. Johnny got the dodge like usual, and then he got AG5. And then with AG5, what I did was I went and I got sure hands. People are like, why would you get sure hands? He's AG5. He picks up the ball in 2+ anyway. Uh, AG5 with sure hands picks up the ball in tackle zones all the time. Like it's amazing. So AG4 in one tackle zone is a 3+, and no tackle zones a 4+. So AG5 in two tackle zones is the 3+. So he can go in and pick up the ball with sure hands with two rerolls, and I use it all the time. Because what I do is I get the ball loose in the cage, I do a cage dive, and then I can go through, and that ball is always, when you cage dive, the ball is always in a tackle zone. I run through, and you can dodge in because he's AG5. It's really easy, super easy to dodge in, pick up that ball with the sure hands, and then I got leap. I leap out, and then I throw it usually to Flash. So it's a play. And then Sammy's just, he's only got a couple skills. He's got dodge step. Uh, this guy, this is my lineman. Of course, I went dodge first. He got his strength up, so I was like, I need to get block as fast as possible because people are going to hit my strength 4 guy. And my plan was I'll make this guy a ball carrier. Well, his next roll up was was an agility up, so he is a 6'4", 5'8". And he's got a ton of SPP. I score touchdowns to this guy as often as I can because I was trying to get blocked. Because once I got strength, I was like, I needed another skill, so I got another skill, and it was agility. I'm like, I can't turn down agility. Now I got blocked. So what I do? What I do is I dive a cage with this guy. It's a 3, it's a 4+, a 50-50. So 75% with dodge skill to do a cage dive with AG5. And because he's strength 4, as long as I cancel the assist, most of the time he's hitting his 2 dice in the ball carrier. So he runs through, he gets the ball free. The ball bounces around, it's in a couple tackle zones. I swoop in with Johnny, who picks it up with his sure hand and his AG5. He then leaps out and throws it to Flash, and Flash runs downfield. I do it at least once a game. I attack that cage relentlessly, and it works great, man. And you can see these guys, I'm trying desperately to get these guys blocked because this guy, once he got guard, everybody started hitting him, and he got move busted. But I'm not, you can't throw away this piece because he's got a move bust. So I'm trying to get both of these guys blocked. What happens, the reason you get one before you develop the next one is MVPs. Like this guy, I was like, I need to get this guy, but his block, so I was trying to get all my lineman touchdowns on him. And then this guy got an MVP, so he threw one pass, and then he got guard. So now I got to level both of them. My very last thing to say about Dark Elves. It can be difficult to prioritize who to level next with Dark Elves. You can see this guy's 2 away. This guy needs block, and this guy needs block, and this guy needs wrestle, so he can go leap. Sammy needs a skill. You will often have 2 to 3 pieces that are 1 or 2 spots away, and you're like, who do I get first? Who do I get next? And I can't really answer that question for you, but it's a good problem to have. And it's a problem that happens a lot with Dark Elves. You'll always be you have so many pieces you're trying to develop. Try to get your core pieces developed first. Try to get your important and expensive pieces developed first and protect them. Like your AV7, you want to make sure you get them blodge or wrestle, whatever. And then what's important to your team? What is your team missing? Do you need more tackle? Well, then go get the tackle piece. So it is not an uncommon situation to have 3 or 4 pieces and not know who to level next. Just make sure you're figuring out what's important to your team and really sit down and write it down if you need to, man. Like, I need to get this, this, and this. who do I have that's available who has the pieces that fit those skills. And that is Dark Elves in depth, man. I love Dark Elves. I play Dark Elves a lot. Actually, you might even be able to see my stats. I played a ton of Dark Elves. And I'm gonna go back into them. I've been playing a lot of humans lately, so I play 332 humans. Dark Elves. I play 219 Dark Elf hymns. Love the team. Gonna play them more. We'll play them. They're just super solid. If you were playing, they're good in any environment. They're good in bash heavy environments because they can do the agility stuff. They're good in agility environments because they can do the bash stuff. And they're flexible. They're a little rough to start out. Reroll management is extraordinarily critical, but once they start getting dodge and more block, then the game just starts to be. It's like playing Blood Bowl in easy mode. Thank you guys for watching. Next week will be the last planned installment. It will be Humans in Depth, which you know I play a lot of. And then I'm debating whether I'll do more or not. I've kind of considered doing Orcs, which is another team I know okay. We'll see. We'll see. But next week is Humans. This has been Dark Elf in Depth. Thanks for watching. See ya.